Hi, my name is William Schaeffer, and this is an amazing true story from 1994 in my time at CST Entertainment. And the story is called Return to Tombstone. I started working at CST in 1986 as a colorist, and then I got promoted into the art department, and then was promoted to a lead designer. And so around 1992, I suppose I was a lead designer. Around the same time, there was a management change and CST moved, and um, Stan Rutledge was brought in. Now, at the time CST was formed, there was a sister or a different company, AFT, in San Diego that did colorization using a pretty different technique. And apparently they had gone out of business, and we had got a lot of work, and we needed some people that were familiar with the process and the industry. And Stan seemed like a good candidate, and he brought along his lead art director, Michael Southern. So Michael became the lead of the art department, and we divided the projects. And I had been working, and Stan also brought along Rob Word. Now, Rob Word was an independent producer that with AFT had colorized the early television series Robin Hood to some success. And because of that, Rob had an idea to colorize old John Wayne movies, the Lone Star movies. And I had worked with Rob as lead designer on a number of those. And I enjoyed working with Rob. Now, I still stay in touch with Rob, and he is Mr. Entertainment. Today, he runs Word on Western. It's a talk show he shoots once every month or every 2 months, and he has famous stars from the Western TV shows and movies as guest stars. And he's still producing independent projects, and he's like Mr. Hollywood. His enthusiasm is infectious, and his love of movies is authentic. And I always liked working with Rob. And the way it worked out very well at CST, because the other lead designers could work on the high-profile music video and commercial projects, and I would work on the old black and white westerns with Rob. And I was perfectly happy to do that. As an interesting aside, when I took a painting course, the teacher said people tend to be landscape painters or portrait painters. And if that idea is correct, I'm by nature more of a landscape painter, and I would say the other two designers, lead designers, were more portrait painters. And so doing old westerns was great. I got to design scenic landscapes in addition to working with Rob, which was a lot of fun. And I'm a historian by nature, and seeing and working on the old black and white movies is always a lot of fun too. Well, along the way in 1994, the Wyatt Earp movies came out in the theater, and Rob organized a project to colorize parts of the old Wyatt Earp TV series with Hugh O'Brien, reshoot new footage in black and white, colorize that, and release it as a 90-minute special on TV. So Rob formed a production unit and wrote a script that would tie the different segments of the episodes from the original Tombstone, the original Wyatt Earp TV series, and then planned a production shoot in Tombstone that would last 3 or 4 days. And he got some well-known cinema and TV stars who have gone on to further success to be a part of this series, and it was a pretty big deal. Since I was going to be the lead art designer on the project, I thought I should go and see the shoot. Besides, it would be kind of fun. At that time, I had never been on a real, quote, professional film shoot. I had only worked in post-production and really only in colorization at that point. So I inquired about that and was pretty much told, no, we just don't have the money for you to go along, and we can't afford it, and there's a really tight production schedule, and on and on and on. And so I was told I couldn't go along. Now, I'd been working pretty steadily for a few years, and I'd accrued vacation time. So I came up with a plan. I found out when the production shoot was going to be scheduled, and I applied for vacation at that same time with a 1 or 2 day cushion on either side. And then when my vacation was approved, I bought a plane ticket to Tombstone, Arizona. And then I started looking for hotel rooms. But all the hotel rooms were filled. So I was forced to take a risk and reserve a bed and breakfast for the duration of my stay there, for the week that I was going to be there. And then I told Rob, hey Rob, guess what? If I'm in Tombstone at the time you're shooting, can I stop by and see the shoot? And I'm sure he was surprised to hear that I had planned to do that. And since I was the lead designer, he kind of had to say, oh yeah, that'd be great. Love to have you. Now don't get me wrong. It was a very unexpected move. So that's what happened. And then we worked along, and then I took my vacation and I flew to Tombstone, and I rented a car, and I drove to the bed and breakfast, and it was a nice old, now Tombstone's a pretty small town. There's about 4 blocks, and that's about it. Boom, in the middle of nowhere. And it was a nice Victorian home, and there was a private room with a 4-poster bed and all antique furnishings. And on the dresser was a nice big fruit basket. Hugh O'Brien, welcome to Tombstone, that kind of thing. Now, in those days, nobody had cell phones, so we knew what the phone number was ahead of time. And all hotel rooms or bed and breakfasts, that information was more accessible ahead of time, so you could make plans. So I had told Rob what my phone number was going to be, or I called him or something. I forget how. But about half an hour or an hour after I arrived, the night before the shoot the next morning, I'm laying on my bed, and the phone rings. And it's Rob, or one of his assistants, asking me, oh, would you mind swapping rooms? Because it appears that they had just gotten Hugh O'Brien a room where they were all staying with the production crew. And he was a little nonplussed at that, I guess. I don't know. But I had the nice room in the Victorian house, in the private room, in the private residence, at the bed and breakfast, where they gave me a fruit basket. So naturally I said, certainly, no problem, love to help out. And I didn't touch, fortunately I hadn't opened the basket or touched anything. And so they drove over and looked around, and I think they took a photograph, all those guys or something. And they told me where they'd be shooting the next morning. And I was unfamiliar with film shoots that start at like 6:30 in the morning. So when I showed up at the graveyard at about 8, everything was in full swing and full production, at the scale they were working at. Basically a film camera and a bunch of guys standing in the field. But, the stars were there, and they were making it happen. And I knew nothing about film or film shooting or proper behavior on a set. Unfortunately, I just stood there. Now, I had brought my 35mm camera, and in those days, we didn't have digital cameras. we had those Instamatic cameras that would shoot 35mm film, and mine was pretty good, shot pretty good photos. And I started taking photos, just a few, because it cost $1 a snapshot, and that was a lot of money. So maybe I took 2 rolls of film or a roll and a half, as just kind of a memento of the different sets. Just it, and I'm not even sure if I was conscious of using it as a reference, but I took, references of the main actors and the environments. So the shoot was 2 or 3 days. And it was a long time ago, I can't really remember. But one of the highlights was when there was a delay, I got to listen to Hugh O'Brian talk about the old days in TV production in old days for about an hour and a half. And this was just a casual conversation with a couple of members of the crew, where he was describing his experience in Wyatt Earp, the original Wyatt Earp TV series, what the production schedule, the production quality was like, some personal experiences. And that was very, very special and a very memorable event, to be able to listen to one of the original guys talk about what it was like back then working in video. And I've always loved video since I first started doing video in 1980. There's something magic about video, and it was a fun shoot. And so anyway, then I took the plane back to Los Angeles, and we got all the footage, and we started colorizing it. Now, I don't know whether they shot in black and white or shot in color, but I think they shot in black and white. At any event, the transfers we got were all black and white because we were going to add color to them. And it didn't even occur to me or anyone else at the time, because I wasn't in charge of the production, but nobody shot color continuity stills at all, except me, by mistake, inadvertently shooting tourist photos of the sets in the production. Now, I've worked on a lot of TV and movie projects since then as a background actor, and now they have digital cameras, and on some features 3 different departments are taking reference stills: wardrobe, makeup, and production. And so you have 3 different people coming around snapping photos all the time of everything you're working at. But the highlight of the whole experience for me was there was a Entertainment Weekly news show on Wyatt Earp Return to Tombstone. I think it was Entertainment Tonight. And they came to the studios and they videotaped us. And they were out on location. And when they aired that program, they aired back-to-back split-screen images of their color footage and our colorized footage of the same scene. And it matched really close. And I was really glad that I had taken those stupid 35mm tourist photographs, because those were our reference stills, and they saved the day. And they made it look like we were real professionals, and it really matched. We did a great job, and the team did a great job. And the side-by-side, original color footage from the new scene with our colorized color footage of the new footage looked good. Looked like the same scene. And that saved the day for me. And I was very happy when I saw that and I heard about that. And that's it. Return to Tombstone with Hugh O'Brian, produced by Rob Word, who now is producing Word on Westerns and keeping alive the Western dream in Hollywood, in Los Angeles, in the world. Thank you, and leave your comments below.